Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Speed Channel back once again, and today I am doing a different video from what I usually do. And in this video, I'm basically just going to be telling you guys different NFL players for this upcoming season to look for when you're in your fantasy football teams whenever your draft day is. So I know me and my group that I do fantasy with, last year we did it really early. Obviously, you don't need to do it early or late. It doesn't really matter when you do it. I mean, it kind of does, but whatever your day is, these are just some players to look for in your draft day, based on results they've had before and because of suspected results that are to come because of new moves to different teams and such things like that. So we'll go ahead and get into it. So the first player is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, you would think, oh, okay, well, he's a given. He's Patrick Mahomes. But I might also argue the opposite because a lot of people don't expect him to be as good as he was before because of the loss that they took in the Super Bowl. But I don't think that's going to affect him at all. I think they'll come back just as strong as they were last year. Maybe even make it to the Super Bowl again. I kind of doubt that, but I do think that he'll still have a good year, a very good year. Still one of the top QBs to take, as you can see from this last year's results, including both postseason and preseason. It's not preseason, and regular season. So he had passing yards, 4,470 passing yards, and then 308 rushing yards. As a QB that's known for passing, 308 rushing yards is not bad. I mean, yeah, he's mobile. We saw him run around in the Super Bowl all the time. Like, the entire time, he was running around throwing passes while falling down, So, he can definitely be considered a dual-threat quarterback at times. He's definitely not known for being a dual-threat quarterback like other players like Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, those guys. But he's still able to do that kind of stuff, if that makes any sense. And then he had 40 TDs. Definitely not a bad year whatsoever for him. I think he'll come back, maybe, perhaps even stronger, but I think he'll have a similar season, and that's why I have him on here. It's just because a lot of people think that he won't. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. His stats are not that impressive when you look at them. But you have to remember why they aren't. Because the Eagles did not put in Jalen Hurts until 4 games before the season. And before that, he played half a game, split it with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz played the first 2 quarters. He played the third and fourth quarter. They lost that game. But the rest of the games that he had that year, every game was super close that he played in. And I remember that one against the Cardinals. No one expected that. Beating the Saints, no one expected that. And while his passing yards are not, that great for 4 games, you would think that he would have much lower than that. But in reality, 4 games, you should be getting around this amount of yards. I looked at others players. I looked at Drew Brees' first 4 games of last season. He had around 1,002 yards total from just the first 4 games. Jalen Hurts, 1,061. Now, that's not a very fair comparison. So then I looked at Deshaun Watson's first 4 games. It's not even a fair comparison between him either because Deshaun Watson, yes, whatever he did isn't great. But, hey, he's Deshaun Watson. I feel like he's the closest kind of player to Jalen Hurts there is right now in the NFL. So that's why I look for it. But yeah. So 1,061 passing yards, not bad for the 4 games that he played. And rushing TDs 354 and TDs 9. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next player. I think I've talked about Jalen Hurts enough, but just to give some more information about him, just before I go to the next person, you also have to keep in mind that while he himself brings a lot of talent to the team, he also has some new talent in Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle from the draft, which is the duo from Alabama. and that is awesome. I think it's going to be a great year. He's going to have He's going to have Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith. He'll have Travis Fulgham, I think, or maybe he left, but I think he's still there. Then he'll also have He'll have what's the tight end's name? Well, okay, it seems I've forgotten tight end, but he's got Miles Sanders as well, the running back. Not bad. He had that crazy TD last year, 98-yard TD, I think. So yeah, he's got some good weapons around him. I think he's one to watch next year. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Oh, next one is Stefan Diggs. This one was the one I was most excited to talk about. Stefan Diggs. If you don't know what he did last year, you must be living under a rock, because this guy was leading the league in passing yards, as in like receiving yards, the entire year almost. And I can give you some personal stuff about this. So I had him in my fantasy last year. He was actually my sixth pick, and I was surprised that no one picked him up by the time I picked him up, and he went 73rd overall in our league last year, I think, or 63rd. I'm not sure. But yeah, he didn't go very high in our league, which I was surprised about, and I was like, okay, I'll take him, and thank God I did, because he won our league for me. This guy did not have a game. It depends on PPR for you guys for different leagues, so that's why I'm going off of real life stats and not PPR stats, because I feel like it's going to be different, I guess, for each league that you're in. So, but anyways, in our league, I don't know exactly how the points are. I don't remember exactly, but what I do remember is he did not have a day that he was under 20 points for me. Every single game he played, he had 20 plus points, and most of those games were around 35 to 40 point games, which are crazy. For the year he had last year was crazy. I mean, it was even better than it was his best career year overall over all of the Vikings games he played in his career. I think he's gonna have another good and amazing year this year. I don't know if he'll lead the league in yards again, but I do think he'll be close to what he was last year, and maybe even make it a little bit farther into the playoffs than he did this year, which is maybe likely since the Chiefs might not be as good. I think Patrick Mahomes might still be as good, but I don't know how good the Chiefs will actually be next year as a team. Then receptions 127. That's pretty good. And then he had 8 TDs, which is also not bad. So, yeah, let's go on to the next one. Okay, the next one is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is, I actually didn't have him in my fantasy team at all last year, but one of my other people that was in our fantasy league, he had him, and early on in the year before he got his injury, like I think mid-season, he was up to par with Julio's numbers the entire season long, maybe even a little bit better than Julio's, and he had a phenomenal first half of the season. The second half wasn't as good as the first half, but it was still pretty good. Even though the Falcons themselves had a problem with choking every single game that they were close to winning, he was definitely not contributing to them choking. He was definitely contributing to them actually doing good. So, yeah, passing yards 1,374, 9 receptions, and 9 TDs. So, not a bad year at all. I think he'll do even better next year, maybe. But he won't have Julio there as his wide receiver 2, so he'll mainly be the wide receiver 1 probably there. Still no quarterback change, so it'll still be what's his name? So yeah, he'll still be with what's his name? Oh yeah, Matt Ryan. He'll still be with Matt Ryan for next year because there was no quarterback change in Atlanta. But he will have to compete, I guess, with not really compete, but like he'll have someone else as a pass catcher next season, and Kyle Pitts, who's probably going to steal the show next year. I didn't put him on here just because he's a rookie. We don't know how he's going to be, but from what he was in college, I think he'll be good as well. And Calvin Ridley's still young too, so he's got a young career. He's got a lot of potential ahead of him. So yeah, we'll see him on the field next year. Next is Justin Jefferson. I think he had a great season last year, even though he was a rookie. 1,400 receiving yards, 88 receptions, and 7 TDs. That is very good for a rookie, in my opinion, at least. He was phenomenal, even with a mediocre quarterback in Kirk Cousins. He was great. I think if the Vikings had a better QB last year, with Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson leading the charge offensively, and Harrison Smith on defense, that team is crazy good. But Kirk Cousins didn't do a bad job either. But certainly not good enough to make this list. But Justin Jefferson definitely is. I regret not taking him last year, but I did try trading for him a couple times with the same person that had Calvin Ridley last year. In my league, had him, so his wide receiver lineup was pretty much stacked. But yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to him next season. I think he'll be great. Next is Matthew Stafford. This might be a surprising one, just because hasn't been great past few years. But I do have him on here because I think with this new switch to LA, he's got a ton of talent with him. So he's got some young players in Cam Akers and Robert Woods, and he's also got Cooper Kupp in there as well. So throwing those guys on offense with Matthew Stafford might be what Matthew Stafford needs in his somewhat veteran career now. It's been 10, 11 years. So, I think he's still going to be good next year. I think he's going to be great. So that's why I have him on here. This is one of my personal opinions just because of the talent that's around him. And I think he still has what it takes to be an elite quarterback. 26 TDs, 112 rushing yards, and 4,084 passing yards with the Lions last year. So, yeah. Next, I have a defense and special teams. Now, this is kind of biased, but not really biased. I try to make it as not biased as I could. But I have the Carolina Panthers defense / special teams just based on stuff they did last year and during the draft this year. So, this is my favorite team, obviously, in the NFL, but that's not the reason why I picked it. The reason why I picked it is because they brought in a lot of talent last year and did really good. Not as good as I wanted to, obviously, because I think they have the potential to be great. One of the best defenses, maybe. Maybe. It's a stretch, though. Maybe. I'm just kind of biased, though. But they also made some good moves during the offseason this year. So they picked up people like Hassan Reddick, and then in the draft, they also picked up J.C. Horn, one of the best cornerbacks in the country right now in terms of college. But now he's moving to the NFL from University of South Carolina to a Carolina player. I think it's cool. I don't really like the University of South Carolina because I'm more of a Clemson guy. So kind of a rivalry there. But I don't mind J.C. Horn. I think he's really good and going to be a good fit for the team. But yeah, this year they've got a ton of good players. First, I want to go over the stats. They have 1,003 tackles total, 29 sacks, and 16 interceptions. And they also have, I think, 4 TDs defensively last year. 2 or 3 being from Jeremy Chin alone. So Jeremy Chin, Brian Burns, Yetur Gross-Matos, Shaq Thompson, Hassan Reddick, Dante Jackson, and J.C. Horn. And I think Trey Boston's in there still as well. I don't know if he got traded or not, but he's still there as well. So that's 8 guys who are leading the defense right now for the Panthers, and they're going to be great, especially Hassan Reddick. I think he's going to have a breakout year, even though he's had a chance to have a breakout year before. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one, and we only have about 4 left. So the video will be over soon if you're one of the people who doesn't want to watch the entire video. So now it's DK Metcalf. This guy, he had a lot of hype surrounding him last year after that whole Buda Baker chase down thing that happened in the first Seahawks-Cardinals game last year. Both games were awesome, but I think that was the main highlight of both the Seahawks and Cardinals season last year. Just because of how much of a monster this guy is. He's super fast, super strong, super athletic, huge built guy. He's crazy physical for a receiver. And so, yeah, I had him in my fantasy as well last year. He was a little bit more inconsistent than most receivers, but the times that he was inconsistent, it was either he did really poorly and had like 4 points, or he did amazing and had like a 40-point game. Actually, that's kind of exaggeration. Probably like more of a 26 to 30-point game is what he was if he wasn't doing bad. So hopefully this year he can work on it and not have those 4-point games and only have the 20 to 30 range games. That would be awesome and ideal. But for receivers, they don't always get to shine every single game. So I won't expect him to have an amazing season next year. Or not amazing season. I think he'll still have a great season. That's why he's on here. But I don't expect him to be as inconsistent. That's the better phrase. Inconsistent as he was this year. So, yeah. Stats, he had 1,399 receiving yards. Not bad. 88 receptions and 12 TDs. He has the most TDs out of all the receivers on this list so far. So, he's one to look for real next year, barring he has no injuries. Then DeAndre Hopkins, I know most of you guys probably expected him to be on this list. I had him in my fantasy as well last year. Carried my fantasy just as much as Stefan Diggs did. Definitely did not have he had some games that were below 20. He wasn't as good as Stefan Diggs, but he still carried my team last year. 1,407 receiving yards. I don't know why I have passing yards on there. Anyways, and then he had 115 receptions and 6 TDs. So TDs obviously he's a little on the short side there, but he makes up for it in the rest of his stats. But yeah, he's great. Especially with the new additions they have to the offense from the draft this year. I think the Cardinals will be great, and Kyla Murray has finally started to mesh with DeAndre Hopkins a little bit more. So now they're really going to mesh this year, I think. It might be a breakout year for both of them. So we'll see. Next one is Dalton Cook. I'm sure you guys know why he's on here. Sorry about that. I have rushing yards and passing yards and receiving yards mixed up. It should be 1,557 rushing yards, 361 receiving yards for Dalton Cook. Dalton Cook, he led the league in rushing yards for a good portion of the season. I just don't see why anyone wouldn't want to pick him up for fantasy. I know he's injured for a couple games. I think 2 or 3. I think 2, but I could be wrong. Could be 3. I know he was injured against Seattle, and they had the backup in there. The backup wasn't bad either, but definitely nowhere on par with Dalvin Cook's talent. 16 TDs as well. Not bad. I think he's going to be great next year. And finally, we have Darren Waller, tight end, the only tight end on this list. And I think he's going to be great just because he had a good season last year. But hopefully this year I think Marcus Mariota is a new QB, not Derek Carr. I don't know. We'll see how it goes next year, but with the Raiders. But the Raiders had a very, very good season this year. Not disappointed in their season at all. I'm not that big of a Raiders fan, but I am a very big Darren Waller fan. So it was awesome to see him do good this year. Hopefully he does even better next year. So 9 TDs, 107 receptions, and 1,196 passing yards or receiving yards. So not a bad season for him at all. I think he'll do even better next year just because he's gonna have that added confidence from what he had this year, knowing that he can do good and even try to do better this year. Hopefully he doesn't have any injuries to hold him back. But so I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe, like the video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, please don't dislike it. Just click away. I guess I don't really want to say and encourage you to dislike it. But I hope you enjoyed. I know this is a different change up from what I usually do in my Cars diecast reviews. but I wanted to see something different, just see what the responses are, see if you guys like it or not. So and if you guys like it, I'll try to do more of these in the future. And not just always about football. I have some new videos coming up. One especially is I have a what if Cars 3 happened in real life, or did it actually happen in real life, according to NASCAR in 2017 to now. So that's going to be an interesting video. Probably going to be a longer video, on the longer side of things. So if you don't want to watch a longer video, you can skip around in that video, but please, I still encourage you to go check it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one.